What up, my freaks? RuinousInsight here with part 65 of my Total Warhammer 3 modded Karl Franz campaign. So as we saw last time, a nice little change of pace as Bruno Graber fought at the Temple of Kara, wherein the Dread Fleet decided to attack us with a massive pile of crabby boys, i.e. rotting Prometheans. We did manage to come out ahead, but it was one of the closest battles of this campaign. Speaking of close battles, we're looking to get a pretty great one, I think, this episode, as well as it is finally time to attack the Black Pyramid of Nagash and the massive number of Tomb King stacks that are guarding it. Should be a pretty fun time. And before we get to it, however, this is the 65th episode and once again a 5th episode in the series, so I'd just like to bother you guys by reminding you not to forget to drop those likes and comments if you're enjoying this particular Let's Play, as scheduling and episode length and whatnot is based on engagement. Alrighty, that's about it. We've all heard that enough times. Let's get to fighting. So we're gonna put everybody here in trenches, and I think we can just transfer everybody to a single army. Say this guy's army, because he has a slightly higher level. Also, since he's using a bunch of these war wagons, what we'll do is we'll reset his skills to buff up said war wagon. We are going to go for Inspiring Presence, and we are going to go for Mighty Forge, which is the war wagon buff. We have one more point if we want to use it, and it wouldn't really be helpful from any of these things. I say we go hold the line. Or wait, we could go 1 point in Emperor's Finest, right? How many? Yeah, we have a decent amount of halberdiers. Emperor's Finest, that is. Alrighty, then. Volky, we're gonna have you transfer a single unit of Free Company here. Just the one. And then you're going to get in the Sterling's Revenge. There we go. Now, oh, huh, interesting. Sterling's Revenge being a regiment of renown. Oh man, I thought they fixed this bug. It's still happening, eh? They don't get the magical damage like everybody else does, which means... Wait, but they do get Frenzy. Huh. They get Frenzy and Strength of the Penitent. Why wouldn't they get the magical damage? It's kind of bizarre. Frenzy comes out of mere mortal men. The work of... Wait, what gives us magical damage in this army? Enables flaming attacks, armor-piercing damage. No, it's a special ammunition out of mere mortal men. Yeah, Blessed Bullets ammunition, magic armor-piercing for Free Company militia units. Huh, I guess it doesn't apply to these guys. Damn, look at that. What the heck is this charge bonus? With the Savage blow up and running, that's ridiculous. 78 on Free Company militia. They have more charge bonus on Free Company militia than Demi-Griff Knights. That's a pretty interesting one. Okay. Well, a little bit unfortunate about the magical damage not working, but as long as they have Frenzy and Strength of the Penitent, I remain reasonably happy about it. Huh. Actually, in terms of stats, these guys might actually be worse. Because these guys are currently at rank 4, and the stat disparity is actually probably going to be in favor of the basic units later. Interesting. Man, are we gonna have to get rid of Sterling's Revenge? Did I take it out of Peter's army for no reason? I don't know, but I guess it doesn't matter. At least not right now. Volky, let's get you leveled up before we fight. It's going to be a doozy of a fight after all. You have Halberdier... No, you have Sigmarite Disciples, and therefore you will get Emperor's Finest again. There we go, near to buffing up our higher levels further. The Empire Captains need points as well, and they are going into We Are the Elite for when we finally have levels. And you're gonna do the same thing. We are the Elite. Lovely. You're not the Elite yet, but you're getting there. Oh, and I also noticed that We Are the Elite doesn't appear to work on Sterling's Revenge either, because their armor is equivalent to that of the Free Company militia, rather than +8, which we would be getting out of both of these units. Hopefully it works for Free Company militia in general. I guess we'll see later on. Alrighty, and I believe, Jamathius, you have another skill point to assign. I guess we could give you Arrow of Akshi, like so. Then what we'll do is we will move Arndt Frankenwerter right up to here. Oh, 1 second, I have to move my cat. Sorry about that. It's better when it happens during battles. Alrighty, so you're there, then Jamathius, we're gonna have you also entrench your stance, transfer all of these units to Arndt Frankenwerter. Like so. And then we are going to... just out of curiosity, melee defense versus... Nah, you're still better off getting the range buffs because you're a ranged army. Alrighty, it is time. Let's get to it. Declare war on the Sentinels. No allies have chosen to be involved in this dispute, and it matters not. Let's see if we can win this. It's going to be an interesting one. I also want to point out we have very little in the way of mana. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Huh. Interesting. Valiant defeat, however, here's the problem for the AI. They are not drawing the garrison out. They're going to draw other units out. Well, that's a huge problem for the AI. Alright, well, this should still be a pretty grand battle just by sheer amount of units, but a lot less frightening than it might have otherwise been. Here we go.
That's an order!
Alrighty, here we go. Man, am I excited for this particular battle. Unfortunately for us, though, the enemy does draw the first blood with a legionary barrage, hitting our Free Company militia for about 2/3 of their HP. Pretty insane damage for a single use of that spell, though I suppose there are much scarier spells. I'm looking at you, Jungle Swarm of the Cult of Sotek. What a ridiculously obnoxious ability. But anyway, still annoying. Our Free Company militia is no longer viable to stand in the front line and will thus help guard the various artillery pieces. In the meantime, there are 9,000 skeletons, all of max rank, arrayed before us. Fortunately, we can certainly take out a massive number of skellies with the army that we have. The main concerns here are going to be the Nehekara warriors, the pretty massive pile of skeleton archers, especially considering that both the Sigmarite disciples, with their relatively low armor, and the Free Company militia with their even more low armor and their shields, lack thereof, I mean, are vulnerable to range fire, and then of course the units of Ushabti in both armies. Anyway, we're going to start the battle up by annoying/bombarding the enemy with our artillery as best we can, while we head Volkmar himself as well as the two captains, the two Empire captains, to kill this enemy lord here. Alrighty, here come the rockets, heralding Volkmar's arrival. Should have his engineers somehow modify the rockets so that they create a twin tail as they go. Ooh, that'd be nice. Should be a regiment of renown that does that. Alrighty, well, anyway, here comes Volkmar trundling in by himself mostly, though we do have a little bit of support coming in, as well as our two units of Demigryph Knights have arrived. They'll be fighting some Nehekara horsemen here, and this is a match that is absolutely terrible for the enemy. The halberds versus the relatively fragile Nehekara horsemen. Those shields ain't helping, and those kopeshes aren't going to dent the armor or the hides of the Demigryph. And here comes Volkmar with his Jade Griffin and his War Altar of Sigmar, and dropping a grand soulfire upon the enemy together with his Demigryphs. Alright, looks pretty good, and that soulfire absolutely horribly damaged those poor horsemen and the skeletons that were helping them out. In the meantime, our two Empire captains are fighting this enemy Tomb King here. Take a look at this for a little bit. They're having a little bit of a tough time finding him, though. There we go. There's a charge. The other one's a little bit distracted with the other Nehekara horsemen, but that's fine. At least one of them has found them. And man, the Empire captain's shields are so much more ornate than everything else they've got. It's always kind of shocking to me. Their armor and their sword and even the barding of their Pegasi are comparatively not as ornate as their shield is. It's a nice shield is what I'm getting at. Alrighty, and now we're gonna swap a little bit as one Empire Captain moves out, and the other one goes towards the enemy Skeleton Horseman. Looks like the enemy has also activated the first Realm of Souls. Or actually, technically, we've activated the Realm of Souls by killing them. Anyway, Volkmar and the Demigryphs have nearly destroyed the enemies that were blocking them here, and over in the background we can see our artillery firing on the enemy units that are moving onto the field. Plenty of skellies where that came from, however, and we do have to make sure that we kill these ones here and the Lord before the armies arrive. And I do mean armies, as there are plenty more where, as I said, that came from. All 40 on the field, and we do have more reinforcements that will arrive as we kill the ones we're currently fighting. And our own reinforcements are arriving at the same time, and it looks like the enemy is going to pop up some Ushabti on the field, and they are going to rush one of our mortars a little bit earlier than I was expecting at this point. Maybe I shouldn't have had the artillery just try to do so much damage to the enemy as they move down the field, because this is really going to hurt this poor mortar. Fortunately, though, we do have all 6 of our war wagons here, and they can make fairly quick work of the Ushabti. Hopefully just a little bit quicker than they make work of the mortars. Looks like 2 remain, and the war wagons bring them down. Definitely got to be careful with that, but it's pretty quick for the death of an Ushabti unit, and I'm sure we'll be seeing more of that as we send the war wagons to kill the enemy lords and other Ushabti. Over here, speaking of enemy lords, Volkmar has moved in to help, as the Empire captains were just taking way too long, and clearly the War Altar of Sigmar needed to do it for him. I'm going to drop a quick Soulfire on the enemy, just waiting for the enemy lord to crumble away, and even our Bright Wizard is helping out. Alrighty, just a bit more damage. Somebody bring that lord down so we can get the heck out of here before we're overwhelmed as the enemy reinforcements are moving in. There we go, finally. And the Tomb King drops just as piles upon piles of reinforcements arrive, which means we are going to pop a banishment, and then we're going to book it on out of here. Fortunately, the Empire captains and the mage are all extremely quick on those Pegasuses. Though the War Altar is, let's see, 80 movement speed? 50 movement speed. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So it's reasonably so. Ogres would be able to catch it with their 54 or so movement speed. Otherwise, the balance of power is still in the enemy's favor, as there are still more enemy units to arrive on the field, and about another full stack. But we continue to do damage with all of our artillery. It looks like the enemy lords, 3 of them in fact, are going to try to move alongside us like so, and are going to try to flank us. That's okay, though, because we do have 3 of our sniping war wagons here, and as we've seen with Peter's army, these guys are really quite good at sniping, so they've already nearly killed the first of the enemy lords, and it looks like this one will fall, and then the second one will have to be fought. Otherwise, Volkmar is staying just ahead of the enemy skeletons because of their relative slowness, which is great. And oh, this guy might actually survive to move into combat. Well, great for him. We will move away, and besides, we do have our Empire captains to come in and help, so they can fight the enemy while the war wagons shoot them. There we go. Down goes the first enemy lord, and then we can simply go after the second right after. Now, the blue symbols on the blue heraldry, well, actually technically the heraldry is yellow, but the blue shields kind of remind me of Bretonia more than they remind me of the Empire. Alrighty, and looks like you're going to try to run away from those Empire captains. I wonder why, but perhaps that is not the right thing to do, because you have lots of units that can fire on you, namely the Free Company Militia can fire backwards, like so. There we go, and of course, so can the sniping war wagons continue to snipe you. And very nice, that guy's nearly dead. Otherwise, the battle is nearly properly joined. As more and more enemy units move closer, we did try to get our war wagons close enough, or the other 3 war wagons, to the Ushabti with Great Bow, but unfortunately, there's a pile of skeletons blocking them. That's okay, though. And here we go, the summoned unit of halberdiers, as always, is the lucky unit that gets to fight first, and summoned or not, they should still be able to hold off a unit of skeleton warriors a decently long time, especially with our own gunners firing upon them. Obviously, on the slightly higher elevation behind them, we have our own handgunners, as well as Free Company militia and the officer squads, as well as really any range units. Okay, these guys can't fire through the war wagons at the time, but now the war wagons are safe to fire from up here. They are taking a little bit of hit from, or a few hits from the enemy Ushabti with great bow, but we'll deal with them shortly, hopefully. Alrighty, gonna drop some piercing bolts of burning from our mage upon the piles of enemies. And there we go, looks reasonably effective, and of course our artillery pieces will continue to fire. With 6 war wagons, we basically have enough ammunition to fight this army forever. Our artillery are going to be focusing on the enemy range, while over here, Volkmar is fighting his own battle. I'll let the undead break themselves upon him like a, I don't know, like a rock in the sea. Unmovable, and let's see what his damage is at this point in time. He's got 310 kills and 55.6k damage. Very, very nice. Otherwise, we do have some proper battle lines here. Lots of skeletons fighting lots and lots of infantry. There we go, the great swords fighting, and somewhere within these woods we also have Free Company militia and our halberdiers, or demigryph knights with halberds rather, fighting as well. Obviously not a bloody battle, or at least not a bloody battle from the enemy's perspective, as their skeletons do not bleed, but that's okay. Alrighty, these guys should be able to hold. We do have more reinforcements that we can move in at any time. Otherwise, Volkmar is now moving into the main portion of the battle here, just to try to buff our units that are holding ground and give them a nice soul fire. We're also going to have our mage cast a nice overcast piercing bolts of burning into this massive blob of enemies that is currently holding back, or being held back, by the demigryphs. That looks like a heck of a lot of damage, and at the same time, wait, let's see, actually, 433 kills and 54k damage. Ooh, looks like somebody's competing with Volkmar, though. 66699, very nice, Volkmar, very nice. This is where the battle should end. Also, in the meantime, I did send in both Empire captains to try to fight the Ushabti with great bow, but for whatever reason, they're really struggling here. Like, they were at about 75% HP or so after killing that second enemy lord, and they're just not really hurting these Ushabti with great bow. It's a little bit surprising because in my Gorok campaign, I've sent skinks. Red-crested skinks and chameleon skinks, and a single unit is more than enough to kill off a unit of Ushabti with great bow. They're quite fragile in melee, but the Empire captains don't seem to be having a good time against them. There may be some sort of issue with the Empire captains being unable to hit them or something, or at least having a difficult time. Yeah, they're not swinging their swords all that much. Okay, there you go, finally got a few hits in there. Alrighty, well, if they're having so much trouble, we're gonna send Volkmar to bail them out. Otherwise, the battle is most definitely going our way now as the balance of power switches to our favor, though once again, there are still more enemies yet to arrive on the field. Our Free Company militia also fighting in melee together with our demigryph knights, and we don't mind that at all. Too bad that our Free Company and militia are winning right now because they can't activate their Strength of the Penitent. Oh, this one doesn't have Strength of the Penitent. Alright, this one does. But you need to be losing melee combat. It's okay. Alrighty, War Wagon's gonna move forward as well, just to charge through the enemy and break apart their formation a little bit. Halberdiers still holding, though I do believe this is the second line of Halberdiers, as it is not the summoned unit. Absolutely glorious. Kill everything. They're already dead, but you can at least bury them. Or smash them apart. Alrighty, more enemies rushing in. We're doing a little bit of kiting over on this side with our Free Company militia, and our war wagons definitely don't need to get bogged down fighting spearmen. And these guys are not going to be as effective at fighting these regular units as they are at single targets, but that's okay. We didn't bring them to fight skeletons. We have no problem fighting massive numbers of skeletons, especially as they begin rather to disappear, crumble away. And I see some Tomb Guard interspersed in this particular army. They're probably not for long either. Down you go, Tomb Guard. Alrighty, and let's see what we got. Volkmar's now finally taken care of those Ushabti for us, since the captains were unable to do so. And now it's just a matter of killing off the rest of these units as they crumble away. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Man, what's our kill count at? 500 exactly on Volkmar. I think I preferred the 6699 damage that he had on. A little bit more damage from his Grand Soulfire. A grand drive-by, there he goes. And let's see, where's our mage? Probably flying overhead somewhere. I want to see his damage as well. Should be out here where he was helping the Demigryphs. I don't actually see him. Okay, well I'm sure, oh there he is. The Burning Key, we got 55.6. Looks like Volkmar beat the mage, despite the mage dropping all those bombardments. Very nice, Volky. Quite respectable. Alright, last of the enemy skeletons gonna charge through them once again with the war wagons just to add a little bit of injury to the insult. And I believe Volkmar's at full HP. Yeah, he's completely fine. I don't even think I had to use the healing potion. He had the Jade Griffin just heal him throughout the battle. Perfect. Alrighty, and a heroic victory considering the amount of enemies that we had to deal with. The auto-resolve said, I believe, Valiant's defeat? Some kind of defeat. I'm pretty sure it was Valiant. I think, though, it's because the auto-resolve has a bad tendency to underestimate the Free Company militia, as we've learned many a time with Peter. But anyway, the victory is ours. Now we move on to the Black Pyramid itself. Hey, another Banner of Eternal Flame, always nice to have. Now that was a pretty darn fun battle. Granted, it was massive piles of skeletons, but there were sufficient numbers of said skeletons to actually threaten us and dish out some damage. Still, we only lost slightly above 10% of our army, so that's really not that bad. The Legionary Barrage ability, though, is pretty darn scary with the way that it heavily damaged a number of our units, and I'm also kind of shocked at how ineffective the two Empire captains were at bringing down a single unit of Ushabti with Greatbow. They were basically doing no damage to them, and instead taking damage themselves, which is kind of surprising, considering these guys are decent level and have fairly okay stats. I think each one also has a Fencer's Blades on them. We basically get no treasury out of that, but that's par for the course when fighting the Tomb Kings, despite the fact that this is a heroic victory, and we faced off against 8.7k. We're going to pardon those captives, insofar as you can pardon the dead. Assault Expert, there we go. At least we got a student out of it. Now, you are not actually in range, so we would be in range of the Black Pyramid itself. Close of victory, apparently. While we could very well auto-resolve this, I don't think we should, mostly because it is, once again, a nice battle to fight. So, if this episode is going to be dedicated to this thing, it'll be basically fully dedicated to this thing. So we're going to go rally, and then we're going to grab a couple more skill points. We are the elite, though it remains a question as to whether this actually does anything, at least for these units. And then we get we are the elite for you. Both of those now maxed out, and then we will go for, not for officer, but for veteran training, with once again the hopes that it applies to the Free Company militia. But yeah, 5873. I'm very surprised that these guys were having so much struggling They were having so much trouble. They were struggling so much against the Shaft of the Great Bill. A little bit odd. You can have Emperor's Finest maxed out now. Why not? If the Halberdiers are going to join the fray again, they may as well be higher level. You, Bright Wizard, are going to continue going through scrying techniques. We do use piercing bolts a lot, though. Reducing its... Nah, fine. We'll go for piercing bolts first. I mostly use piercing bolts and flaming sword, occasionally cascading fire cloak. I would still like to get the improved scrying techniques, but we will get it later. At the very least, you have scouting. Alright, I think that's good enough. Let us take the Black Pyramid of Nagash, then. I wanted to fight these guys in the field, including the Hyro Titan, to see how the war wagons could bring it down, but I suppose we'll have to see in this battle. Here we go.
On order.
Alrighty, here we go again, and we've arrived at the Black Pyramid itself. And ooh, you gotta love this map. Look at that thing, just floating apparently overhead. Huh. Man, you know, when I remember reading the Nagash books, the Time of Legends books, the original Nagash books. Well, original. And I don't remember it describing the Black Pyramid as floating, but it mostly described the interior of where Nagash was doing his stuff. Looks very nice, though. Though it does have to have a tendency to remind me of the lizards, rather. It does have a Marvel skylight up there, but it's got some nice lighting as well. I do wish that we could zoom in further, or I do wish that the battle was under the pyramid instead. Would be pretty nice as well, I think. But generally speaking, a very, very cool map. You gotta love it. Honestly, with the Black Pyramid sort of flying overhead, I don't know if anybody's read the not a Warhammer thing. Malzahn Book of the Fallen kind of reminds me of Moonspawn floating overhead over the city. But anyway, I digress. One of my favorite series, by the way, highly recommended. Let's see. We are going to start the bombardment now. It's probably going to take a while. Going to work on the enemy tomb guard by and large, while Volkmar batters down the gate or rams the gate repeatedly with his war altar of Sigmar. Alrighty, and our screaming skull catapults, I wish. Our fire rain rock, nope, our... Why do I have such a problem in calling this artillery pieces what they should be called? The Hellstorm rocket batteries. They should have no problem at dealing with all of the enemy tomb guard, but it is not really the tomb guard that we have to concern ourselves with, but the massive piles of enemy constructs in here. They also do have a Hyro Titan, and I'm excited to see fight Volkmar. Lots of DLCs since these guys have been released, and they're still one of the coolest looking units in the game. Top 3. I sincerely doubt that it'll be unseated as a top coolest looking unit in the game sort of thing anytime soon. Gotta love these guys. Anyway, let's see how we're proceeding here. You know what? We've seen enough bombardment, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. We're going to breach the walls with our cannons, going to take out the rest of the tomb guard, and they're already in pretty bad shape, but obviously the Hellstorm rockets aren't going to do much to the enemy constructs. Now that the walls have been breached and our reinforcements will be arriving in a minute, we are soon going to move the rest of our units forward and start assaulting the city itself. The gate is also down to less than a third of its HP. Our summoned halberdiers helping with it a little bit, as Volkmar was taking some time. And though we could have moved him through the breach here, why not open the gate as well, so that we have multiple directions into the city. Ooh, nice shot from the Screaming Skull catapult there from the enemy, hitting the units directly inside the gate. Damn, those gunners have great accuracy. Gunners wouldn't be the right word. What do you call a catapult crew? I'm just gonna go with catapult crew, but I feel like there should be another name for them, but I don't know. Anyway, it looks like the enemy is looking at us menacingly and is going to march forward with its Hyro Titan and some of those Necro Serpent riding Necropolis Knights. We're moving in our Summoned Halberdiers, but they ain't going to be around here for long as they are already broken. And that's fine though. Volkmar can start taking care of business by himself at first, and start facing off against the enemy Hyro Titan. We actually want to clear these Tomb Guard out of the way so that he can have a nice, long duel. Though, honestly, neither of these units should be particularly effective at hurting the other one. Volkmar's more of an infantry blender than a lord duelist, and the Hyro Titan has an insane amount of HP for him to work through. Alright, well, we'll see. 130 melee defense with a Cascading Fire Cloak on Volkmar. He's actually at 60% HP. He may not be able to do this while not without activating the healing potion. Anyway, in the meantime, the rest of our forces are moving forward. We're going to try to go through the gap with some Sigmarite disciples, but the enemy meets us in battle with their Ushabti, blocking off the entrance. Fortunately, while they block the breach, they do not block the gate, which means at least some Sigmarite disciples have joined their Grand Theogenist Volkmar in trying to bring a Titan down. A Titan of the Dead. This must be a special kind of blasphemy for these guys. And it might be something of a competition as to who hates the undead more, Sigmar or... you gotta love those animations though. Sigmar or more. Oh, those laser eyes almost looked like they hit a Volkmar there. Man, this Hyro Titan really likes the laser eye animation, and who could blame him? He's just... oh, man. He's just trying to hit a Volkmar in the head with the laser eyes, and I started laughing because I imagined him using the laser eye animation, hitting Volkmar in the head, and then Volkmar's polished head just refracting the laser eyes out elsewhere like a mirror. But anyway, that's why I started laughing. In the background, we also have our Empire captains who are fighting. This one came very, very close to being mobbed and killed by the Necropolis Knights. I just wanted to try to get those Screaming Skull catapults after we had killed off the enemy tower, destroyed the enemy tower. But it looks like we're going to have to kill the Screaming Skulls instead with our own artillery. Oh well, not a big deal. Volkmar has reached his healing cap, but has now decided to pop his healing potion, as otherwise he's having a little bit of a tough time against that Hyro Titan. Otherwise, the Sigmarite disciples are fighting in the background against the remnants of the enemy Tomb Guard. Although at the very least, these two continue to duel. I do wish that circle effect would hide when you hide the UI, you know what I mean? Like, it should be visible when you're like this, of all these things, but they should not be visible when you're like this at all. And they can't even be hidden with space. Does anybody know of a way to hide these things? I know that or at least there used to be in Warhammer 2 an effects mod, but I don't remember if it actually did anything to these things or just reduced the certain effects like the Poison Wind Globadiers and stuff like that. Anyway. Alrighty, well, the Ushabti were holding us back quite well. We decided to send the Demigriffs into the breach instead, and they will make it through. Alrighty, and Volkmar has unfortunately had to move away from the enemy Hyro Titan, though let's see. He's got 28k damage and 168k HP. He's also getting hit by various Ushabti with Great Bow. In fact, they've been firing at him for pretty much the entire battle while he was dueling the Hyro Titan. So if you're surprised that he was having such a difficult time, it probably wasn't just because of the Hyro Titan so much as it was all Ushabti with Great Bow firing at him at the same time. Fortunately, they're not the enemy's not the only one that can have fire support, as we've moved our Free Company militia in, and we've got war wagons trundling on in as well. They're going to start shooting that Hyro Titan from every direction. We've climbed the walls with our gunners, our Free Company, and they will be firing down into that mass of enemies as well. And watch that Hyro Titan just step through all those units, but unfortunately for it, not for much longer, as it is down to about 25% HP and has finally begun to crumble. Alright, and down it goes. And even the death animation of that thing is fantastic. I love it. I still can't decide whether I like Hydro Titan or Hell Pit Abomination or Necrofex Colossus more. And now we have the Chaos Dwarf trains. They definitely gotta be up there. And the sound design wise, the Dreadquake mortars are just fantastic. I gotta face off against the Cathayan Grand Cannons in terms of sound design. Anyway, now we are spreading out through the enemy city a little bit. I combined city and little to city a little bit. The Demigryphs have caught themselves some Ushabti with Great Bow and just tore into them like nothing. Certainly showing those Empire captains how it's done when fighting Ushabti with Great Bow, and I would be very curious to see how the Empire captains on Demigryphs would fare against those. Anyway, the Ushabti continue to run, and we're chasing them down a little bit with our war wagons. These guys are going to cross the bridge, but we're going to go right after them. In the meantime, more of our units moving into the city, and we take more of the wall with our Free Company militia, who are going to start firing upon that Tomb Scorpion and whatever other units of constructs remain. I am enjoying this episode immensely. Some fantastic fights against these massive piles of Tomb Kings. Gonna start overwhelming those Ushabti with Great Bow. There is another Tomb Prince, the Lord of the Garrison here, as well as that skeleton. Oh, something I learned that I never knew. Did you guys know that that war wagons can't cross bridges? Because they can't cross bridges. They get stuck here on both bridges. Look. They can't, and you can see their orders. They're not in skirmish mode. You can see they're trying to go here, and I repeatedly tried to make them go, but they wouldn't go. I wanted to get them behind the Ushabti with Great Bow to obliterate them, but oh well, what can you do? Certainly not something I've encountered before. I do have to wonder whether it's this map in particular or whether it's other maps. Has anybody else ever had this happen to them? Alrighty, well, regardless, and now it's time for the Demigryphs to do their work, and they've destroyed yet another unit of Ushabti with Great Bow, and this one shall fall as well. And even though these war wagons might be stuck, they're not so stuck that at least some of them can't fire, though it looks like these ones are actually blocking each other, and none of them are getting a shot off either. Man. Oh, well, at least these ones are doing work. I saw one of them fire. Hey, you did it. You're the head of the pack, though you still can't cross a line in the sand, apparently. Otherwise, it looks like with that, the battle is pretty much done. The Tomb Scorpion is fighting its last, but the entirety of the wall is covered in Free Company militia, all of which are taking shots at it, and obviously Volkmar's Free Company are much more powerful. Volkmar moves in to try to get a few more shots on that Dreadnought there, and the Dreadnought explodes. Beautiful. Alrighty, and last of the fights, we have Demigryphs facing off against some Necropolis Knights with halberds, and there's another unit of Necropolis Knights crumbling away. A nice little duel between monstrous cavalry, both with halberds as well. Some fantastic shots in this battle. Definitely a very different sort of battle than we had last episode, but I enjoyed it as much as I did this one. Because last episode we didn't know whether we were going to win the fight or not. This one we did know that we were going to win the fight, but at the same time we still took damage, and on top of that we had just so many enemies to work through and so many nice little matchups of individual units. Anyway, the Demigryphs have nearly overwhelmed the last remains of the enemy Necropolis Knights. The last unit now moves in to try to help their friends. But I'm sure the Demigryphs will bring him down as well. Alright, and even the Fire Wizard is going to join the fray just for a little bit. He hasn't done a lot in this particular battle, as he mostly used supporting spells, and there weren't a lot of Tomb Guard or other skeletons to use his spells on, so... Constructs versus Fire Wizard doesn't really go well for the Fire Wizard, as he is not specialized to fight them. Anyway, a decisive victory, and the big old floating Black Pyramid is ours, and we will be able to build the Vault of Nagash. Alrighty, a nice little fight. I loved some of the duels that we had. The sight of Volkmar facing off against the Hyro Titan, the Demigryph Knights knocking around Ushabti with great bow, and then dueling Necropolis Knights as well. Absolutely fantastic, and definitely a matchup I wanted to see. Otherwise, we once again took the damage on our Empire captains, so they came a little bit too close, uncomfortably close, I should say, to going down, and not in a good way. So, yeah, we certainly need to get some items on them, but we just don't have enough yet. We will eventually try and build them out to be fighters. It may even be beneficial to put them on demigryphs instead of the Pegasi, but obviously not in this particular army because we're trying to use the armor bonuses for our infantry. So, yeah, and just something to consider, and we know that Kurt Helborg's army will have them on demigryphs. Anyway, occupy the place, and the Black Pyramid of Nagash is ours. Tomb Raider. Hey, another White Cloak of Ulrich. These are always very nice pickups. Jamathius has a crown. Arndt has some others. Wow. Okay. Yeah, the magic item drop chance thing is really working. We gotta get more wizards. Even more wizards. Even more chances to find magic items. Anyway, that took up the vast majority of the episode, and you didn't keep a wizard location. That's just rude. We can immediately build the Vault of Nagash, however. Spell resistance faction-wide, as well as a bunch of Winds of Magic stuff. Can always appreciate that, though the 20-turn build time is certainly going to take some time. Otherwise, the place isn't going to generate money for us, so we don't technically have to collect income here. Rather than building stuff that would interfere with it, we can build other stuff for capacities. Anyway, with that, this is going to be, it's definitely time. Episode obviously dedicated to the Black Pyramid, which we successfully took, which means afterward we're going to try to take Khemri from the exiles and start attacking the exiles from the south, even as we start attacking them from the north as well, though it doesn't look like they're all that strong. Fortunately, though, we have plenty to do for Volkmar, as he doesn't like demons just as much as he doesn't like the dead, so as soon as he's done with them, he's going to go southward and start making Kairos. Just as annoyed with us as we are, I'm sure, going to get with him as soon as he starts stopping our freaking faction from moving. I hate that ability. But better to attack him before he transfers our settlements. Hopefully. I'm sure it'll happen, but we'll see. Anyway, calling it here. Next time we will have more battles for us. Marcus Wolfhard out here, and I'm sure there are a few more, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.